so tired of micromanaging. How do I train, manage, and lead? I can't find time to be visionary. Head down in the weeds.
All right, guys, we're going to hit it. Hopefully you're with us last week. As a recap, session 1, we talked about why the best candidates are ghosting you and what the heck to do about it. Today, I'm hitting the hiring process that we actually use in our recruiting side of our business that we charge, $20,000 plus for. So hopefully you have pen, paper, notes in typical fashion in this series. Yes, I'm giving you a tool to walk away with. So sharing this with your team. So first and foremost, we talked about this last week a little bit, but most law firms don't have a hiring process. What they have is a hiring habit. And let's talk about this. And this might be contradictory to everything that you've heard before and learned, but the habits produce inconsistent results. The whole job of staffing hiring is results, which means qualified candidates, keeping them engaged. Remember, I talked last week that recruiting and staffing is 100% sales. And so we have inconsistent results because we have the habit of checking the box, of putting it in our time template and truly treating it like that, a checklist versus a system that produces great results. We talked about this last week, putting an ad out there and getting flooded with resumes, even unqualified resumes. Those days are over. So today we're going to talk about the system that we actually use in our registered trademark process. Any of you that have gone through copyright and trademark process and all that, you know how grueling it is. And we were awarded this because it is incredibly disruptive and unique, and every stage is repeatable. Every stage removes the emotionality, the guesswork, hiring from pain, but also it is not a set it and forget it. So we start off with doing a recruiting call immediately in a strategy call. When we are conducting that strategy call, we really capture your firm's values, cultures, roles, and the role requirement. Like walk me through, do the math, just like you do in the interviewing. And you can do this internally with your team to walk me through their job description in motion from the day they start. What parts of the process are they taking over and or taking full ownership of? Really identifying in your firm's culture, make sure they are in your bones and your blood and you mean it. So for example, one of my favorite clients, we just had a strategy call yesterday to check in. We're recruiting for them again. And we talked about their number one core value, which is radical candor. They just fired someone because they felt like they're constantly being thrown under the bus. They felt like they were being criticized when they weren't getting their KPIs met, what have you, and really anchoring to that and interviewing from that place, having these words within your job description. Number 2 is making sure you have role alignment, custom job descriptions and candidate scorecards that are baked and built into your culture, comp plans, goals, emotional intelligence first. We are attracting human beings, not human doings. Think about the last people that you have hired and or the last people that have failed miserably or the ones that have soared. It was because of the human beingness. People will call this integrity, right? Anchoring back to that core value. Tell me what integrity talks, acts like, and behaves like. And I'm going to talk about you having integrity and transparency in the job description here in a minute. Then we source and vet. Yes, we put the ad out there, but we protect the attorney's time. Empower your internal team to take leadership on this. Have them do the phone screen that I talked about last week in session 1. Have them conduct a Zoom interview and record the video interview for you before they get the attorney's precious time and meet with you. If you can delegate and elevate and get 80% of it internally with your team or your coaches and consultants that you're paying gobs of money to every month. Because what I love about this part of the process, not only does it save your time, but it really helps you do an audit on your internal team as well in regards to their understanding of this job description, way beyond the bullet point by the bullet point by the bullet point. But when they're walking the person through their day, you're looking at the powerful questions that they're asking, their ability to read people, their ability to ask the question behind the question. And in addition to that, it will really help when they give you their debrief. So, for example, you're watching this and you're saying, this is a horrendous candidate. I always say it's either a hell yes or no. If it's a maybe, think of the past people that you hired as a maybe, and you're like, that did not work out. And it started with the maybe, right? So when you are watching this, and the sourcing part of it and the vetting and where they're going through the phone interview, if you're having it recorded, please have it recorded. If your team is doing this, it will give you so much understanding. The other part that we always do is a debrief after that. So if your internal team is doing this, before they just record this interview, phone or video, and then they send it to you and say, what do you think? You want them to do a debrief when the candidate leaves and give you their impression and their opinion, because you're watching their ability to manage, lead, and facilitate, especially if this is a person that's training them. That's my favorite part when a client service coordinator decides they want to move into the non-attorney salesperson position, or they want to move into community outreach or what have you. I'm like, you're replacing yourself. You're the poster child for this. You're going to spearhead a lot of this for the attorney. So really empower your team to do this, especially if they are the person that's responsible for, by and large, doing the majority of the training for this position, right? How fantastic would that be? Next is to present and select. So you receive unbranded resumes typically if you've worked with other recruiters. And if you are working with recruiters right now, you really want to go back to them. And they're sending you resumes that have their branding on it. There's no bar license number or LinkedIn profiles. They're trying to hide the ball, so to speak, so you don't steal their candidate and poach them away or what have you. In that strategy call, when you are doing this with your team and or with a consultant or recruiter, be very clear. If they're not asking the powerful questions, ask them internally in regards, what are we willing to pay to fill this position? Not what does your bookkeeper say, what does your budgeting say, what have you. You're hiring from a place of growth. But what is your top dollar? So make certain your team is looking at the job ads that are within competition of your position. If it's hybrid, if it's remote, if it's in-house, make sure you're looking within 50 miles of your office, even if you would not consider a candidate with that long of a commute. If it's 100% in office, that is still the typical that you want to be running, if not 100 miles, to gain perspective on. I don't want to hear stories that you say, well, I know that firm. They're just a trust mill. I know that firm. They work their people 80 hours a week. Those are all excuses for you not to pay people what they're worth and to be competitive in the marketplace. And I say this with absolute love. I have to remind myself of this when I'm hiring as well. Don't operate like that anymore, gang. And at the end of the day, people have to pay their bills, and some people will make a lateral move, but you have to be competitive with the pay first and foremost. And so if your recruiters are frustrating the hell out of you, not sending you candidates, you don't hear from them, you're getting unqualified candidates and or they're not presenting qualified candidates, and they're not giving you a weekly update or requesting a role alignment and a strategy reconnection call with you, insist on it and have them tell you what are the challenges with filling this position. And so they should be coming back to you with market data in regards to your salary is not competitive. If you're going to have this low of salary, you got to make some flexibility in hybrid or remote or what have you. They should be coming to you with solutions. The same with your team if you're empowering your team to do this internally. Every week you want an update in regards to how many people applied. How many people did they reach out and do they have in their pipeline that they're warming and waiting for responses? How many did they reject? Why did they reject? That scorecard should tell you pretty quickly where you need to make some strategic moves and go back to your bookkeeper, CFO, or COO, whoever it is, to find ways, because it's not about the fee, it's about the cost of not filling that position and allowing everybody to delegate and elevate so we could bring in more business. And then we get to a place where we get to offer and onboard. Make sure you handle money up front and center. So on that phone call, on the video interview, you are reiterating it at every single touch point. By the time they get to the attorney, your time is so incredibly precious. So you do not want to wait until after the interview and be upset and then go back to the recruiter, then go back to your internal team. Name it, because how they handle it will be everything in regards to that. If you can't be you, you cannot be shoot straight, you cannot clarify and verify in conversations and have a really raw conversation up front in the beginning, this person's not going to work out anyways. And if that is not your customary communication style, here's a tip. Work with your coaches on that, because your existing team, future team will appreciate that. And then you really want to make certain that you have an offer and on board. If you clarify and verify the offer, base, comp, hours, all the things before you spend time in writing an offer letter, turning it into a work of art, getting into the negotiation game, and then it just kills deals. And you have to make certain that you clarify it, you confirm it in writing, give them a deadline to sign it, and then you have a full 6-month onboarding and KPI accountability program. We do 180-day placement guarantee. Most recruiters do 90 days. You'll have 90 days in your probationary period where they're eligible for dental or whatever, health insurance, and things of that nature. But for your HR team, make certain that it is 180 days. I can't tell you how many times I will get emails. We're out of the honeymoon phase. Woo! Done with 90 days, we're smooth sailing, and then I will start to get emails at month 4, month 5, even month 6 or what have you. And it's because nobody was checking on this person. They weren't having clear, concise, well communicated roles, goals, and KPI calls or meetings if you're in person every step of the way. So we want to make sure we are taking 30 chunks, not 6. There can be some vision in the 6-month or what have you. We're going to put that for the next 30 days, but anchor to it. So your internal team. So let's talk about the job ad formula that actually works. I talked about core values. I talked about being who you are up front and center, and it starts with the ads. An ad is just like a meta ad that you're trying. You're paying a marketing agency $5,000 a month with a $5,000 a month ad spend. You better believe that you're watching every single solitary word that they put in that ad. You're watching every single lead that comes in there. You have extreme data hygiene in your CRMs. It's the same thing with the ads that attract. You're selling the opportunity. You're leading with culture. Please make sure that your culture is not something that you hijacked from another, forum or community or what have you, and that they're meaningful in what they mean, that they have real live words. My number one core value in my company is accountability. On a job ad, I would put right in there is that we have upfront conversations in real times and no meetings after the meetings. So happy to share with you too. We have a house rules of engagement that we incorporate in our ad too, in the recording, because that just came to me to give some food for thought for people to anchor into. Include salary up front. Do not have a long range. from $100,000 to $200,000. You have to make certain if it's starting at 150 plus bonuses. I'll see people that will put monthly bonuses paid out, right? If they have immigration attorney in commas in the ad, pay or bonuses paid out monthly. You can be creative even in the naming convention of the job description there. We don't want laundry lists of requirements and qualifications. We don't want to focus on, we want to get all these outdated ads out of there. Not necessarily reading ads first and foremost. Think of it like this. So many people are like, we're investing in a new website. I can't wait for the leads to just come rolling in. No, a website is a shell. You know, I always use this analogy, just like estate planning. You do estate planning, the trust is an empty box until we do the funding and the asset integration. Then we have a full box. It's the same thing with the website, right? It's the same way that ads run. We have to have action on them, activity on it for people actually to opt in. So your ad is a shell to point AdWords, if you can think of it in a PPC or a LSA or Google or Meta ad. And then that's when they're reading the ad. It's attracting them. It's intriguing them to want to hear more. You want to show a growth path and a team that wins. And you absolutely need to run targeted ads, not just posts. Job post is your first impression. Make it do the work for you. Be incredibly honest. So for example, I'll give you an ad, and I kind of was a guinea pig for this. It was probably 9 years ago. I had little kids in middle school, ripping my hair out, running a business, blah, 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 hiring a director, executive assistant, personal assistant to support me. And my ad that I wrote, literally out of frustration, I own a recruitment company. I was like, I'm ripping my hair out. I have very little time to even pee in the day. I have 2 small kids that are in every sport under the sun and not driving and what have you. And I need support helping with building the SOPs, organizing my calendar, organizing my desk, and organizing my fridge. If this excites you, please apply. I had to shut that job ad down. Literally, I have like 47 resumes. Granted, it was 9 years ago or so, but that ad still works to attract candidates. The amount of emails and letters that I got in that regard, I love helping a busy entrepreneur, a startup company or what have you. People will show you the math in regards to that. I also have another law firm that has a horrible reputation. They have a horrible reputation. We're recruiting for them. They insisted on the ad. Finally hop on a strategy call with them. Like, every person we talk to, once they hear your law firm name, they're out. They're like, they're the worst law firm to work for. They have a horrible reputation, what have you. Talk to me. What is up? So we talked about it, and the attorney took full ownership of it. Right now, we have a huge turnover because we have a gaping hole in management. And here are the things that I am willing to delegate on day one for you and trust you and hand it off. And we talked about all the pain points. We filled that position, and you're being completely honest up front. Stop writing ads that don't tell the truth about your firm, because guess what? People are doing their due diligence if they're worth half a hill of beans. Meaning they're going and looking at your Glassdoor reviews. They're going and looking at your Google reviews. I had a call with a firm this morning. They're like, we are the best in town. We get all of our business from referral. We have more business than we need to do this. I'm like, yeah, but you have 3 Google reviews. You have 0 social media presence. It is going to take us forever to get, unless you get on a video with me right now, let's record it like an interview and tell the truth. So the ad has to attract them first and foremost. And then before the interview, you have to be incredibly clear on the scorecard for every person that's interviewed. I talked about last week why candidates are ghosting you. If you have coaches or consultants or, a group interview system, get incredibly clear on what this looks like. and each part of the process of what part of the interview that everybody is doing, and incredibly clear on what great looks like before a conversation. Even if you're doing the phone 5-minute interview, that's why I like that. The video interview, protecting the attorney's time. And they sounded so fantastic on the phone, but the time they got in here in regards to everybody is clear what great looks like in your firm. So I have a firm right now in California that we've been recruiting for gosh, 15, 20 years. And the person that we're interviewing can't be better looking than anyone else in the firm. And they have communicated that in that regard, and for multiple reasons, but they were all upfront in regards to that. So if the director of operation is interviewing and the person's too fancy, too whatever, what have you, I have another firm that they're incredibly allergic to perfume or what have you. And so we're communicating that on the phone interview before we get into the video interview. It's all the pieces, not about what the resume. Don't get seduced by the resume only, but your definition of what coachable, collaborative, whatever that might be. And then we're scoring them in real time on your top 5 criteria: the role competency, communication, culture fit, accountability, and coachability. Do you see here? I don't have years of experience. I am firing every single day some colossal attorneys and paralegals that have the most beautiful resumes of years of experience because of these things that we're not consistently interviewing on, not to trick, but to re-interview, because people get comfortable during the interview. And they're more comfortable in the beginning when it's not with the attorney, or sometimes they're incredibly comfortable, a little too comfortable and a little too sloppy, in my opinion, when it comes time for the attorney, because they get cocky and think they have it aced or what have you. So really just paying attention to that. We are all clear on our top 5 that are in alignment with your core values, but they're different-ish, where they're not just like words that you adopted. Remember, before the interview, we are clear on what great looks like. What does integrity look like? What does over communication look like? What does culture fit actually look like? They have to be fun and funny. I don't want them to be too fun and funny, because we are not. I'll interview attorneys during that role alignment and they're like, we like to have fun around here. I'm like, you haven't smiled once since you've talked to me. I see your pictures on your website. There's not one person smiling in those pictures. Like, are you sure you guys are fun? Actually, no. And then I have another one. I had an attorney that said, we are not doing happy hour parties. We are not celebrating your birthday. We are not doing whatever. We are all so serious, and we don't get our social out of work. We all have so many friends and family and what have you. Yes, we'll joke, but by and large, we're not here to make friends. And so there's somebody else who they have no social work, is social work and life for them. So being clear, and then after the interview, you compare your scores independently before discussing. It eliminates anchoring in emotion, group thinking, debate, trying to convince someone in regards to your hiring decisions. And I really love this process much more than a group interview. Well, did you see when she did that? She didn't do that. I didn't see her do that. It is completely biased. So we really want to anchor into that. And what you're walking away with today, and I'm going to walk you through this tool, is job ads that attract. So it's the ad. So it's really like a 4-prong approach. Heck, I'm in a huge favor. This has worked wonderfully in the past of sending an email out to your existing database. If you don't feel comfortable doing that with prospective or existing clients, send it to your referral sources. It's a wonderful way for your business owner referral sources, letting them know you're hiring, you're growing, what have you. It's a great way. And also, ideally, your rockstar employees, that they get some really, really undeniable bonus for recruiting with them. And then we'll talk about the 180-day success profile here. So let me go into the tool here really quick. Let me reduce my screen here and walk you through the tool and what has really worked for us. So you want to use this as a guide and really making sure job ads that attract. Guys, be who you are, fun and funny and attractive. In regards, paint the picture of what it's like to come to work. We bring our dogs to work every day. We bring some firms, they bring their babies or what have you. We do not. We do a daily huddle. We do a morning, military stand-up meeting in regards so we all feel supported. I would love to see that up in front versus your, core values that land like a home goods sign that's hanging when you get off the elevator. No shame and blame on that, but walk them through what their day is. Are you, we over communicate here. We do not ditch meetings. And I'm giving you ideas of why people, when I say to them, why are you talking to a recruiter today? You're gainfully employed. And most people will say, I'm not unhappy, but there was something in your ad that just hit me in the gut. There was something in your email and inbox message that you sent to me that just really hit me in the gut. And it's things like this that really paint the picture. We over communicate. One of the things I have affirmed is that we share personal and professional wins and we rate our stress every morning in our morning meeting. That might not be you, and that's okay. Paint the real picture around there. We are incredibly serious. We like to run like a traditional law firm. We wear a suit and tie or whatever it is. That will attract somebody. There's no right, there's no wrong. I interview a lot of attorneys in positions, paralegals or what have you, where this firm is, like I said, incredibly serious. I'm like, this person is way too much of a people person. It'll drive everyone crazy with how much we don't chit chat around here, whatever it might be, not from a negative, but in regards to over communication. We have weekly case management meetings, selling your pods or squads. If you have virtual assistants overseas, if you have legal assistants, if you have law clerks, if you have paralegals, if you have a case manager, if you have a director of operations, you're selling the team, because the firm, even if it's a big firm that they're coming from, they're on an island. Again, you're hiring human beings that at the day, whatever their definition of it is, they need time, attention, and feedback. So you're writing the ads that are really rooted in truth. Nobody's reading them anymore. One click apply. But you do want to have it SEO rich, right? Immigration attorney, business immigration, we do probate litigation. You do want to have it loaded with that in regards, but anymore, unless you are spending thousands of dollars a month on advertising on Indeed or LinkedIn Recruiter or LinkedIn job ads, which I would not recommend because they're not even going to get you more candidates anyways. It is a racket in some regards. You have to put some ad spend around there, but it's still not, people are not going to lead with reading that ad. Your inbox message is what's going to drive them to the ad. So I mentioned this a little bit of what we do. We do an interview. So a lot of times this is where my clients will get hung up and they'll get nervous, especially if they're not very visible, doing videos, what have you. That's okay. Have somebody in your team interview like a podcast style. So I will typically, real quick, when I say, okay, we're writing the ads, we're writing the inbox message. And one of the things that does work is a video. It doesn't have to be polished, guys, at all, but you want to make sure subject line is king. The best subject line that we have open is, are you happy? Are you being treated well? And are you making the money that you're worth? If not, let's talk. This subject line, we track the open rate, the click-through rate, all that. It wins all the time. So put the video in there. And if you don't know what to say or what have you, have your team members interview you, whoever's doing the sourcing or what have you. So what do you think is about, or you interview your team member? Why is this the best place to work at? And why would somebody want to come and work in our firm, Susie? or what have you. And I will ask when I'm interviewing attorneys, and then of course I'll edit the video and put a QR code, how to apply, and or my email, make it super easy for them and embed it throughout the video. But it's a good, bad, and the ugly. And sometimes I'll start the video. Let's talk about the ugly, the bad, and let's end on a positive note and talk about the good. So really get those objections up front or what have you. So for example, it might be right now, the ugly is that we do not have a director of operations, and this is why we're hiring. And we want you on our team, and we are so ready to empower you and allow you to get to work on our people, our process, our production. We have no lack of marketing. We have no lack of leads. Money is not our greatest concern right now. Our attorney is working 90 hours a week and not seeing her kids and on the brink of burnout. People will sign up every day to be a part of a solution for that. Now let's talk about the kind of bad regards that we're growing so fast. We need to hire and we just don't have time for it. And we really want someone internally selling our culture, someone who's in the walls and what have you. You get the drill. So, and now let's talk about the great, why it's great to work here. You've already been painting the picture of the great. And so if this excites you and you're not scared yet, please apply. Be you if you are fun like that. And if you are blunt and to the point and what have you, do that. If you are not that person and you do your first round of videos and you're serious, and again, no shame or blame, and you are stuffy or whatever it might be, and nobody's applying in regards that, you might want somebody else on your team to record that video for you. That maybe is a director of first impressions. They might be your non-attorney salespeople. They might be your chief happiness officer. Then have them record it as well, or have them do it first. So it's the ads that'll attract, but just like a blank website, a brand new, shiny, beautiful website, it's useless if we don't have activity going to it. PDF downloads, blogs, SEOs, opt-ins, what have you. So it's the same thing. We got to have activity on the back end where we are sending a video. I already talked about stop with the spell the purple, color purple backwards, and go back and watch last week if you're really stuck on that. But we don't want all these tricks and gymnastics, time kills, all deals. So this strategy works. I cannot tell you so well. I told this story last week about a COO, an EOS certified and a Six Sigma certified COO that we're hiring for a firm in Austin. And my recruiter sent the video of me interviewing Attorney Tom and us having a chit chat. Ideally, this video is 5 to 7 minutes long or what have you. We were on a roll. We couldn't stop. It went like 12 minutes, 12 and a half minutes long. And I just couldn't edit one word out of it because it was so good. This candidate, literally, we caught them on the right day. Like, I watched that video 3 times. He's meeting tomorrow for his final interview and offer letter. So, he's just so impressed. Went to the website, went to the Google reviews, went to the job ad and really looked at it. It was like it painted the picture of everything. I couldn't find inconsistency anywhere. In fact, even going through the attorney's social media and seeing them with their family and what have you, seeing them doing their workshops with full rooms. I couldn't wait to get in that law firm. I'm not saying you have to be big and large and what have you. No, you just got to be real and raw. You will knock the snot out of big law firms if you use this strategy. Kill the ads. Lean on AI as much as possible. Take the LinkedIn link, put the Indeed link, put the Wise Hired link, put all of them in there. Shows AI what you're competing with and tell them to create an ad, go through your website, go through your social media, go through everything. If you don't have pictures that are visible, upload those from your cell phone, what have you, and say, paint the picture of an ad that is so disruptive and going to knock the snot out of all of my competition with their ads, even if my salary is lower than what theirs is. People do not job hop anymore for salary. I get the calls all the time. I just lost my associate, left for an offer that I couldn't compete with. I'm like, not my experience, not my experience typically. I interview people every single day in regards to it. They're telling you it's about the money because you don't have a safe culture for them to tell you the truth of why they're leaving. Nobody wants to start a new job over for $30,000 more. Do the math. How much does that break down to? Hourly, daily, weekly? I'll cut my Starbucks habit before I do that. Like, it's not a lot of money when you really break it down into that. And most rock stars know this of how much more it's really going to be, because most people can't see beyond their biweekly or monthly paycheck. And that's their measuring stick. So they're leaving because something else is really broken. So if you're experiencing turnover, please do an exit interview. You know if you have a safe culture or not. You know if you really have an honest, well, respectful conversations that we have in real time, that we have radical candor, that we have extreme accountability, that we have coaching in real time, that we don't believe in criticism. You know all those things. You don't have to compete with big law at all. So take that out of your MSU, making stuff up university. Truly, I see people leave and take a $30,000 pay cut every single day for the upside. And they believe in the upside. It's not an empty box or an empty promises. So the job ad is your first impression, period, end of story. I think I've hit it pretty hard of making sure your social media, when people say to me, well, we don't really do social and digital media, we don't really need that because we get all of our business from referrals or what have you. Recruiting, staffing is sales. It also, I would argue, even if you're not doing it for client attrition or attraction, that even if they're sent by a referral source or what have you, they can't unsee that there's not a presence there. There's not Google reviews. There's no social media. There's no activity on the website, what have you. Again, not to breathe fear in the room, but take it very seriously. Take it very seriously. I don't work with many firms anymore that say they want to stay really, really small and don't want to grow and want to die at their desk. That's very rare that that's a plan anymore that I hear from people. So your ads, you got to sell the opportunity, leave a culture, not the job title. I cannot say this enough. Of course, in the ads, you have but you don't want the title like such a barrier of entry in regards to whether it's a high net worth planning, estate planning attorney. In regards to that, you don't want to have that. You want to have estate planning attorney. In parentheses, you will have hybrid, bonuses paid monthly, whatever it is. And then you're open with why someone would want to work here. Period. End of story. I don't care if it's that we work 60 hours a week versus 80 hours a week. I don't care if it's that we work 10 hours a day and we take half day Fridays off. Just be truthful and why it makes you feel warm and fuzzy and your team members and that. And what does your firm stand for? I have some that will say we have no problem firing clients if they treat if they are rude or disrespectful to anybody on our team. That right there is the selling point. I had a candidate tell me today the law firm will fire nobody. They take every single case that comes in. And these clients, we're never going to get a win from them. We're all running through hoops, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. You include your salary range upfront, especially if you have bonuses. You don't have to lay out your whole bonus structure there, gang. It's just bonuses paid monthly, but bonuses paid quarterly, not very generic. If you don't have your bonus structure by and large globally figured out, figure it out. Our 3 to 5 must-haves, I've talked about this, all right, not a wish list, not a laundry list of 15 requirements. You don't want to make it heavy and hard. If it's heavy and hard for you all internally, it's absolutely going to communicate heavy and hard. I've had so many people say, you know what, I'm talking to you today because all those other ads that I see out there, they think that they're being incredibly concise with attracting the candidate. But the only thing that I read is that this is a heavy and hard and rigid place to work. And we have unrelenting standards and expectations. I don't even want to engage with that. Another sidebar note that I will say to you all in regards, I said it earlier about hiring is a habit. Please do not run ads all the time. So many coaches and consultants we're always hiring. Yes, I get that. But from a candidate perspective, when we don't post ads with our law firm name on there for our clients, I highly recommend that you do. Absolutely, if you're doing your own recruitment. The only reason we do is we don't want people to be tricky and showing up on your front desk, in your lobby and emailing you and inboxing you. We just do that because you're hiring us to protect your time. But do not keep running ads, because so often if we're like, okay, it's ABC law firm in Boston or what have you, and then they're like, is this so-and-so law firm? Yeah. Oh my God. They have been running this job for 2 years. They're always running job ads. The story that a candidate has in their head that you have high turnover or nobody wants your stinking job. So you have to speak into their listening in a way that makes a difference. Do not keep running ads all the time. Even if you're hiring, shut it down. Don't keep it up for much more than 30 days. Shut it down, rewrite it, and then open it back up, because they're seeing on these platforms jobs been open for 2 days, not 197 days. So against popular opinion, do not keep ads running all the time. Candidates, I cannot tell you how many candidates you're losing just because they have a story in their head. And then you obviously show growth plan and team wins in there. Absolutely. Don't make this a law review article. Don't make it incredibly long. It's like a Match.com ad, like you're dating and that you're trying to attract someone and they see the key words in there. You're going to send them to your YouTube channel. You're going to tell them, invite them, check out our 500 plus Google reviews, check out our social media and see how much fun. Go to our YouTube I have one attorney who writes, please don't watch my reels. They're awful. My kids make fun of me about them all the time. Right there, they're like, I love this person. You're showing them. And then you run as a targeted ad, not just a post. They have to be active. And I hit this over and over again. So I talk about writing your job. Lean on AI, gang. Lean on bringing in all of your social media channels, your websites, your blogs, your videos, everything within there. And be incredibly clear on the role you are hiring for. Incredibly clear on that. Yes, it might be an associate attorney. In this day and age, please don't even use the word associate anymore, because a lot of firms won't call them just the associate. You're an attorney. You're a member of our team. You are a drafting attorney. You are a probate attorney. You're a business immigration attorney. You are a pre-litigation attorney. You're a defense attorney. Be clear on the role that and the title, and to help you with this, what parts of the process are they taking over? General terms like senior attorney and things of that nature don't mean the same thing to candidates that they mean to you all. So you're selling the opportunity, again, why a great candidate would want to work here. Just the headline news right there. You are leading with that. First and foremost, what the compensation, what makes you different. You're still selling your firm here. So we have bonuses. They're paid out quarterly. Most are paid out annually. They're not our bonuses are not discretionary. I couldn't stand that when I was an associate attorney, and I wouldn't want to do that to my team. So you're really being clear on that. Be clear on your compensation rate and your benefits, PTO, flexibility, growth path, what have you. PTO, can I say this right now? Do an audit of your PTO. I cannot tell you how many small law firms I work with that their PTO policy, I've lost so many candidates just because of the PTO policy. And then you can't just change it for one person. So you really need to do an audit of that with your HR team, and or leaning on AI, looking at what your competition is offering, things of that nature. You all know your state specific rules that you Can't just lump some states like Colorado into PTO. It has to be clearly defined as sick, blah, blah, blah. How many paid holidays? Make sure that is clear. And then 3 to 5 non-negotiables, not 15, which a person cannot succeed. If you struggle with this, think of the last people that were there that were train wrecks, that were disasters, or maybe they weren't that extreme or dramatic in that regard, but they didn't work out just because of this one reason. This one reason. They would not speak up, and then they had the meeting after the meeting. You all, that right there is a liquid gold. That is liquid gold. We do not play the game of broken telephone around here. These words really will help you win all day long. Because the same way of not being negative, but of painting the picture of what we just really cannot tolerate are probably the same pain points that they're experiencing in their own firm. And you're being incredibly creative and disruptive on that. And then you got to be clear and go through that filter test and go around with your team and ask yourself why. Why does this sell the opportunity and lead with culture, not just tasks? Susie says yes, Molly says yes, Mary says yes, but why? Why does it? And you want to hear that because that'll help you dig deeper, get better words, richer words, more words in there. And then, you know the drill. I'm not going to go through this. And again, easier to edit than create, gang. So take what you like of what I'm saying, throw the rest out of it. Take this recording, throw it into ChatGPT, and have them take all the words and create a step-by-step process in regards to that. Make the interview scorecard matter for you all. So everything that we're doing is consistent in regards to this. So we're really anchoring into that regard. Role competency, communication, culture fit, accountability, coachability. I had one law firm that kept rejecting every candidate. And it was in New Jersey. It was a family law. It was such a hard position. We were probably their 7th recruiter they were on, what have you. We do check-in points. So we're on the call or what have you, attorney and their director of operations or what have you. Finally, the director of operations bursts. And she said, I can't handle it anymore because you're wasting my time. And she looked to the attorney and she said, can I tell her the truth? The attorney was worried about employment law and all these other things. I'm like, cough it up right now or I'm firing you guys. And they're like, every single candidate you present looks like her ex-secretary that stole from her, that about took her firm down. And we can't get out of her head. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going through. I go, oh my gosh, every single one of them have dark curly hair. They all have the same shape in their face or what have you. I'm like, guys, why didn't you tell me this? So on the criteria, literally, they can't look like Susan. Name it right there because you're never going to be able to get over it. I've had somebody tell me before when I presented a candidate, looks like my ex-husband. I can't do it. He looks amazing. I can't look at his face every day. Be clear. And in regards up front and center. I have another person, the last person that they had this really weird tick. Every single time that she would talk, she'd make this real grumbly sound and then a click every time she spoke. I have another attorney that we had to fire because every time they said something powerful, they would laugh really hysterically and then put their hand over their mouth. First candidate, I said to them, put their hand over their mouth. So you got to be clear. It's on these human things too that we know we're never going to fly further, faster. Everybody in alignment. So I would recommend physical here in some regard or what have you. I have some firms, they only want to hire women. You don't have to be unapologetic if that is part of your branding. And you find this really, really great guy. I'm talking myself because I did it before. And he was wonderful. And we did it despite ourselves. And it just didn't work out in that regard, in regards to him being a recruiter for our company. And so don't abandon yourself and don't beat yourself up for your unrelenting standards. And then you want to build your criteria questions. Be so clear and real and truthful about this, guys, in regards to role competency. Walk through a time template. I always tell people the easiest way to do this, take the job ad, take the job description, take a blank time template and put it in there and tell me what they're doing 80% of the time. Walk me through their day if it's an 8-hour day and what it looks like. This is how you know role competency, even if it means at the end of the day they're entering their time in Clio, Lawmatics, or whatever. Communication, writing a question that reveals how they handle difficult conversations. Throw those canned interview questions out. You know a difficult conversation. Take a real live fact pattern. Your attorneys, you love case studies and fact patterns, and walk them through that. Not in a written interview. I cannot tell you how many people are given these written interviews and what have you. Face-to-face human communication. I see people all the time leave. They're like, I'm not doing this crap. I'm not running through all these hoops. I don't really need this. And it's sort of a red flag if you have somebody who is doing that and spending an hour or 2 hours on a written interview. Sometimes I'm like, okay, in this day and age, I know the job market and what have you. And then when they do it, make sure you put it through AI and make sure to see where they answer that with AI. So you know the drill. This is all of it. And then you're going to, this scorecard is incredibly live use. Again, easier to edit than create. And your no hire recommendation and why. The one thing I would say to you guys, here's a quick tip. Do not reject candidates. Don't reject them. Turn off all these auto rejections on these job boards, number one. And number two, in your interviewing process, you want to make certain when you're doing the phone interview, the first Zoom interview without the attorney, third interview, what have you, you're up clear. You are so up clear in front, you're up front and clear. Most candidates will say, what's the next step in the process? What should I expect? We do not send out rejection letters. We've received so many applications through this process. Our process is that if we feel like don't be careful, not if they're a good fit, but you say, if we want to bring you into the next step or stage in this process, we will reach out to you. Otherwise, we're flooded right now. We'll keep your resume on file. Do not send rejections. People are crazy anymore. I get phone calls all the time on my company mainline from candidates saying, I sent Grace an interview. I sent her a DM. I sent her my resume. I interviewed with her yesterday. I haven't heard back from her. And I'm like, our process is send an email to careers@hiringandempowering.com, careers@yourlawfirmname.com. Do not engage. Do not give feedback. Nothing, because they will blow up your Google. They will depending on where they're at, they will do everything to take you down if they're desperate for a job. Now, highly emotional, intelligent people are not like this, but I just came to me, stay out of the rejection game ASAP, ASAP, ASAP. We don't want to do that, especially the auto ones on the apps. If you have them and you think they're helping you with filtering out, you're not getting that many resumes anyways. In this day and age, not hundreds and hundreds. And if you're managing this or a team member is in real time, there's no need for that. And then I know we're at top of the hour, but the 90-day success profile. I'm so passionate about this, guys. I only work with small boutique law firms for a reason, because people will take your job every single day over big firm. Now more than ever, even for less money. You all are incredibly aware of mergers and acquisitions. You're incredibly aware of MSOs. You are incredibly aware of what's going on in Puerto Rico. You are incredibly aware of how much the private equity and funding and capital available in law firms has never been like this, right? Going after the 10 million plus big law firms or what have you. This makes me happy because people are leaving big firm in droves. They want to get back to the heartbeat of the business. They want to work in a boutique model where they're actually counseling, working with clients, making a difference. It's not about the money. So don't be lazy on these things. Don't just slap an ad up. So I'm passionate about this. I'm going to give you a tool. I'm going to give you the recording. I am going to give you throw it in AI, do whatever you want. If you need help, book a free discovery call and we'll walk through what role you actually need. I can't tell you so often when people come to me, I need an attorney, I need a paralegal, I need this. And I start saying, walk me through their day, what parts of the process, whether it's me or John or Ruchi on my team, and we start structuring it, it's quite often not what you thought it was, which is exciting because you're not having to shell out 6 figures plus for that role. So I really want you to book a call. We are just completed session 2 here. And so that's where we're at. Next week, we're going into session 3, the onboarding that actually retains people, because none of us are out of the woods. Once we hire someone, we have to stay sharp on our toes as leaders and managers and continue to redate people. We have to re-engage them every single day with our daily huddles, with our case management meetings, with our over communication, with our approachable culture, and that every voice matters to retain people, because human beings leave, not human doings. I've never interviewed somebody that is leaving a job because of the caseload if they're a rock star. So thank you for being here. Recordings coming out, tools are coming out. Go make sure that you get this code, book a discovery call. No more suffering in silence. Now is such a beautiful opportunity for legal talent acquisition because of all the upheaval that is occurring in the legal space in the by and large big firms, which is super exciting for boutique. Don't call yourself a small law firm. You're a boutique law firm. You are big, you're brave, and you're scaling up. Small does not mean butts and seats or bodies there. We are boutique, we are concierge, and we lead with compassion-driven counsel, and that's what we'll sell all day, every day. All right, gang, I'll see you next week.
I'm so tired of micromanaging. How do I train, manage, and lead? I can't find time to be visionary. Head down in the weeds.